Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Uncensored Anime Podcast, a podcast where we talk about all things anime uncensored. And we are your hosts. I am David. We got Kenny. We got Jerry. And we have a very amazing special guest with us here today. You might have recognized his voice as Panda from Jujutsu Kaisen. Or maybe Rak Wraithraiser, my favorite character, from Tower of God. Maybe Leaky Eye Luca from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5 Golden Wind. And as well as in To Your Eternity and A Loop in the third movie. He's an amazing voice actor, and we have him on the show here today, and his name is Matthew David Rudd. Matt, round of applause. Welcome to the show, Matt. Very happy to have you here.
Thank you. Fresh out of the shower, smelling like Old Spice deodorant. I'm ready to go.
He is ready to go. And so Matt, so again, welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how people can find you online to learn more about you?
I'm a voice actor. I'm an artist. I've got a lot of places you can find me online. Instagram is probably my most frequented social media. It's just Matthew David Rudd. On Twitter, I'm at Voice of Rudd. And other such places. Sonofrudd.com. Lots of Rudd things going on, you know? Just type in Rudd and see if I show up.
Awesome.
All right.
So as of right now, you don't do any like YouTube or Twitch streaming or like any of that just yet, but have you thought about it, or has that ever been on your radar?
We were just talking about that. I have a YouTube channel. Usually just I just put up, edits of my work and things like that. Just an easy way to share that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, I mean, I grew up playing video games, and I've got a bunch of buddies that have gotten into streaming games, and I would love to dabble in it. Right now, my biggest hurdle is just that I'm a dad. I have an 8-month-old and a 6-year-old, and so like it's like I could stay up into the wee hours of the morning doing that, and then get no sleep, or I could try to get a little bit of sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, that's totally respectable.
Weighing priorities right now, but no, I would love to get into that. And I'll let everyone know if that happens.
Okay, I got to know though, Matt. Do you TikTok at all? Are you
a TikToker?
dabbled into the
TikToker? That's a common question now.
I don't TikTok. Yeah. It's becoming more popular with the voice actors. The allure is there to like. It seems like you make a TikTok account and you get like 1 million followers in the first day. But no, I have not. Though I am an exquisite dancer, and I would love to. No, I'm not.
No, okay. I was like, oh, Matt is some
exclusive
dancing
triple
content.
threat.
Yeah.
No, it's funny because one of your castmates from Jujutsu Kaisen obviously had a very, very viral TikTok that went around that David and I find incredibly funny. I don't know if you know about this one, Matt. The one about where Yuji Itadori says that he loves women like Meg the Stallion. Yeah,
that one pretty big, huh?
Yeah, we found that one pretty funny. So I think it's always funny to ask just to see if people are into it or if they watch TikTok. I don't know. I don't really engage in TikTok either. So I don't know, but a lot of people do. So I'm always just like, I guess. All right.
It's easy to just go on there and just kind of swipe through.
You just lose time. Time just disappears.
Yeah.
The closest I've gotten so far is a bunch of friends send me things. They'll send me links to TikTok videos that they know that I'll get a kick out of.
Right.
Yeah. So I saw Adam's Yuji Meg the Stallion one. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that one's great. Okay, Matt. So I don't even know what to call this. For some reason, I started with this question when we first had a guest, and we have just made it our staple question. So we've got to ask you, because the boys and I want to interact with it. We want to hear what are your 3 favorite anime of all time. So what that means is, for the listeners at home, if you haven't heard me ask this question before, the question is always prefaced by, this doesn't exactly mean that it's the 3 best anime of all time, right? It means that it's for you as an individual, Matt. What is your favorite of all time? So what are your 3 favorite anime? Tell us what they are. Tell us why they are. Tell us about them.
Well, the reason I asked you before if this was a video, if the video was going to be released, is because, as you guys can see, I'm full of tattoos.
Yes.
And 2 of my favorites are actually represented here. So I've got I've got Gamabunta, the frog or the toad sage from Naruto on my arm. Jiraiya like had a special place in my heart when I was watching that, and so like I wanted to get a tribute to him. And then one of my old school all-time favorites, I've got Gundam on here, and it says King of Hearts over here. It's specifically from Mobile Suit G Gundam. Mobile Suit Fighter.
Oh my gosh,
that's
yes.
one of my favorites of all time. I know that's fire. So like amongst Gundam fanatics or the Gundam fan base, I know that's kind of an outlier, and most people don't really like that one. But that one was the one that spoke to me.
No, I feel like that's such a random, because I feel like G Gundam for like not Gundam people is like sometimes like they're like, I don't know. I feel like it stands out to me as well, but like. And then there's like the Gundam heads. You know, they love some of the different.
They're into the military stuff and like the realism, and G Gundam's just like way off. Left wing.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but that's like a big part of my childhood too. Was G Gundams. I've always loved that one. That season specifically. Yeah. But
and then I mean, so those are definitely two of my favorites. And I guess like. I could give you so many answers, but like if we're talking about old school stuff, I grew up on Dragon Ball Z, so that's definitely, that was my introduction to anime in general, and I was a fanatic. Like when I was in middle school and high school, like when Toonami had Dragon Ball Z on at like 7 p.m. or whatever time it was, like I had to be home. Like my parents and my family knew, like don't bother him. It's Dragon Ball Z time.
Yeah.
So I mean that is one of my all-time favorites, but if people ask me what my modern favorite anime is, honestly it's Made in Abyss. There's a show it's put out by,
that's the first time right there I've heard about it.
Deep cut.
I mean, what was that? Oh, deep cut.
Deep cut.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get enough of it. I watched the first season. I guess it was like 2019. I watched it. I think that's when it had first come out.
Yeah.
And then they've been releasing movies since then, which I think is a really cool option. It seemed like, I don't know if the fan base wasn't there or whatever to do a full second season, but they started releasing movies after that. And so they actually made the first season into a full length movie. And then they've had 2 movies since then. And then now they've announced that they're actually doing a full second season. So I love that show. Show. I've as a voice actor, I've reached out to the guys that do the casting for that, and I was like,
you're like, hey,
I don't want to bother you, but I'm a huge fan, and if I could be in, I just saw that you announced the second season. If I could be in that, I would love it.
Dude, that's awesome.
Are you excited for the game?
They're making a game of it too.
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
I had no idea. Yeah, now I am.
Yeah.
You gotta play it on stream.
I think there's only early. I don't think there's a lot of info out yet, but I know it's in early production stages for the video game. But we talked about it a little bit briefly a couple weeks back when they announced it. But it was a pretty recent announcement, and it's a really cool because the creator of that series, I don't know if you know this, Matt, but he actually originally envisioned that series as a video game, but it got turned down. Yeah, it got turned down from his studio because he used to work at a gaming studio, like as a on gaming production, and then it got turned down, so he went and he turned it into a manga instead. Manga got turned into anime. Anime got really famous, and now he's been able to turn that back into his original vision, which is to make it back into a video game. Yeah, so
that's cool. That's cool.
Roundabout, but I think that's such a cool top 3. I mean, obviously Dragon Ball Z. I gotta ask though, and I just want to have this discussion, just since you're a Naruto fan.
Naruto fan. You don't find him often, okay?
What do you think about
that obscure show?
What do you think about Boruto, Matt? As of right now, have you watched it? Have you engaged in it? I just want to have this discussion.
I want to know about Boruto. I want to know about Boruto.
So, I'm gonna out myself as a nerd. I last night I watched a YouTube video that was like the 107 biggest things you didn't know about Naruto. So I spent an hour of my life watching this.
Right.
And they touched on a lot of Boruto stuff. Mm-hmm. And so short answer to your question is, when I heard the name Boruto, I was like, I'm not going to watch that. And I've watched, I've watched I think I watched the first 2 episodes or something like that.
Mm.
And I have no answer to your question of quality. I didn't watch it enough to know whether I liked it or not. I don't know why. I just didn't continue it. It was probably because I was fatigued after watching 7,000 episodes of Naruto.
Literally, yeah.
But no, so much of Naruto, so much of what I love about Naruto is the whole family aspect and him, discovering himself and then creating a family for himself and everything. So the idea of Boruto, is exciting to me. I just haven't put in the time or effort into watching it.
I don't think you should. I don't think you should. No,
it's a very controversial show for sure because I think
I think you should turn off Boruto.
A lot of classic Naruto
the end
fans.
Naruto was the end, and that's what I think.
We cut it there. Yeah, actually, we just junked it after that. I think that
I don't know what Boruto is.
Yeah, it's one of those shows that is very controversial. Is all. That's a lot of anime fan. It definitely is a if you're a hardcore Naruto fan, I think some Naruto fans have abandoned it. But then on the flip side, there's sort of this uprising of younger fans that just discovered Naruto that are now big Boruto fans.
Yeah.
So they're really passionate about Boruto as a series. So because of that, there's sort of been a division. And I always want, and I think for some of us, like for me also, I haven't watched all of it either. I've only seen the first, I think I watched like 60 or so episodes, and then I kind of dropped off. It's already over 200 episodes, which is like,
oh my God.
Yeah, right.
I felt that way with Naruto. Like I started on the Naruto train like way late. They were like, I don't know, 500 episodes in or something like that when I started, and so just constantly feeling like I was behind and catching up. I was like, where do all these episodes come from?
Yeah, well, and like half of it is filler too, so you're kind of like just wasting your time.
Yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot to dig through, but that's just funny. I just think that it's funny. But do I have to ask? But is Jiraiya your favorite character? Is that
is Jiraiya number one?
He totally is. Yeah, he totally is. He's if I had gotten into voice acting, like 10 years earlier, I feel like he would have been right up my alley to play that guy. I would have loved to take a crack at that. Something I always tell people who ask about which animes I like, and Naruto always comes up, is one of the reasons like I have this tattoo is like that Pain Saga really like that was the one that stuck with me. And you were talking about like you were talking about cutting off at the end of Naruto and just forgetting about Boruto. I kind of tell people that like I wish the series had ended at the end of the Pain Saga. I thought that was such a full circle thing for Naruto. You know what I mean? And him getting lifted up and carried by the town and everything. Yes. I thought that was such a perfect ending.
Bless you, man. Yeah. I talk a lot about how I'm not the biggest fan of the 7th grade ninja war that happens preceding that arc. I think that the series kind of devolves a little bit in the very back end. And I think that the Pain arc would have been such a great like conclusion to the series too. So I totally am right there with you.
The moon aliens kind of got
the moon aliens is when I got him like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you're like,
Kishimoto. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then there we go. I mean, that's rock and roll. That's the only thing that I do wish we are not really. Kenny probably knows the most about Gundam of any of us, and the only one I actually know anything about is G Gundam, honestly, because that's the only one that I've really also been a fan of. So I find it interesting.
I mean, it's like on a yearly rotation for me. Is if I'm sitting there and I'm bored and I can't think of what to watch, I put on G Gundam because it just like I don't know, I love it.
Wow, yeah. See, and that's I think that's so interesting. I have so many people that I know that like won't even try any Gundam series, but I try to convince them. I'm like, if you're gonna watch one, like try, especially if you like other shonen series. I'm like, oh, give G Gundam a shot, and I'm like, it's worth it. Like it's not just. I mean, it is just fighting robots, but like, it's still like.
No, I mean,
yeah.
Again, I'm gonna out my taste here, but it's G Gundam and Made in Abyss and Naruto. Same thing. It's about the characters and it's about the romance and it's about the emotions and Naruto and Made in Abyss especially is like these orphan kids that are dealing with crazy life events. That sort of stuff is really what gets me and I love that animes like delve into that a lot.
Yes. That's rock.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get into Made in Abyss, and hearing you talk about it makes me want to start it pretty soon.
Right?
So.
Yeah, I heard it's a good binge. It's an easy binge. If you just go right in.
It is. It's pretty short, and especially since they made it into movies, like you could just watch 3 movies. It's like 6 hours of your life, and it's pretty easy. And I mean, like I can't say enough about it. Like it's crazy, and it's got that perfect ramp up that most animes do, where you think it's for kids, and then it like all of a sudden is not for kids at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yo, that's fire. We need to all put on. Okay, boys. The Matthew David, the official suggestion. We need to put Made in Abyss onto our list. Yeah,
do an episode on Made in Abyss.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm gonna say that means we all
loud
need to
and
watch.
clear. Loud and clear.
We all need to watch Made in Abyss as our
Yeah, do it.
So
Do it,
David.
I was gonna ask. So Matt, have you started your children on anime already? Like
what's going on? Are you teaching them the anime ways? I mean, Dragon Ball is Dragon Ball. Okay.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, Made in Abyss, the reason I say the ramping up and totally not for kids thing is my son and I watched the first season together, and it's kind of a hard PG, maybe delving into PG-13.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as the second movie got announced, I was like, oh, we're going to buy this. We're going to watch it together because he loved the first season. Mm-hmm. And it was like pretty clear right off the bat, like, oh crap, we can't watch this together. And then the third movie, like it goes into pretty hard rated R kind of violence. And I mean, it's not even, there's no sexuality. There's none of that stuff. It's just emotionally, it's so intense. And that's kind of what I like about it. It's so I cry watching it. It's just like it just drains you. It's so emotional.
Right.
And so it was getting that way, and then also there's a lot of violence towards the end of it. So anyway, that's a long way of answering your question. But yeah, I do. I mean,
show is what it sounds like. So
it is. But yeah, so my older son is almost 7, and we've dabbled with some Dragon Ball Z. I actually was just talking to him about Naruto because I think he's probably about the age that it would be fun to start, the original series.
Especially the first part.
Yeah. I think he'd really love it. Mm-hmm. He loves Panda. Jujutsu Kaisen's a little bit like the language is a little too much for him, but the Panda scenes, like Panda doesn't curse, and it's usually fun scenes. So whenever I've got an episode, he's really excited to watch it. Every time we go by like a Panda Express, he goes, "Oh, Daddy, it's your character."
Ain't that the truth though?
Yeah. So he recognizes. Like when he first started watching, did you tell him like, "Oh, that's me," or did he just recognize "Oh, that's you"?
Yeah. So when you have a family and you're a voice actor, you just kind of become a joke because like all these cool I'm doing Rak Wraithraiser, and he's like this cool badass lizard, and like you play it for someone who's been around you your whole life and heard you doing dumb voices your whole life and everything, and they just kind of laugh at you. They're like, "Oh, that just sounds like you." It's like, no, I'm doing like a royal British alligator over here, and they're like, "No, that's just you." So yeah, it's a very humbling thing to like. Whenever I show anything off to my wife, she just immediately starts cracking up, and it's not because she thinks I'm doing a bad job or anything. It's just that she's just like, that just sounds like you. So
that's
I totally get that. That's awesome.
But yes, so my son is kind of in the same way. He'll be like playing Minecraft, and I'll be like, "Oh, look, hey, that's me on TV," and I'll be like, "Oh, cool, Dad."
Yeah, that's cool. It's whatever, Dad. I can totally see that. Yeah, I'm busy with Fortnite right now. No, I'm like,
I'm dropping in.
That's funny. Okay.
Yeah.
So I do want to hear this then, Matt. And it's I was just thinking, how would you describe your like anime origin story? How did you end up where you are now? Like, whether that's from voice acting to the artwork that you do, which we haven't talked a lot about. I know you do a lot of great artwork as well, which I want to talk more about as well. But just between all of that, like, how did you first find anime? How did you get to being involved in the anime community to the degree you are, and now working in anime essentially? What's your origin story?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really, I mean, it's almost movie-esque full circle for me, because I grew up wanting to be an artist. And one of the first things that really got me jazzed about doing art was Dragon Ball Z. I remember specifically, you know, in like 6th and 7th grade, I would have best friends that were way more academic than me, and they'd be like, "Oh, hey, draw me pictures of Goku," and I'll take notes on, you know, on biology or whatever it was, you know. And so I really used, you know, Piccolo was one of my favorite people to draw, and I really used Dragon Ball Z as a way to understand anatomy and muscles and things like that when I was coming up and getting into art. And so, you know, my path was art all from the beginning, you know, led by this interest in cartoons. You know, Samurai Jack was really big. So you know, I'm a little bit older.
We love Samurai. I love Samurai Jack. Yeah.
But so when I was 10, 12-ish or whatever, that's when Cartoon Network first came on the air. And I was just so jazzed to have a whole network devoted to cartoons. And so that's when I started watching Toonami and you know, all the Genndy Tartakovsky stuff like Dragon Ball Z, Dexter's Lab, or not Dragon Ball Z, I'm sorry, Samurai Jack we were talking about. Dexter's Lab and all that sort of stuff. And so, you know, years pass, I go to art school, you know, still influenced by all this stuff, watching anime still just because I love it. And in art school, I started making films. I started taking film classes and making films and started acting in my films because that's what you do when you first start making films. And so, you know, just I've always been this kind of hands-on person that wants to be good at everything. So, you know, whether it's drawing and painting or whether it's making a movie or editing or, you know, so I got into audio because I was recording audio for my films. And so I have all the equipment, I have all the recording stuff. And at some point, it kind of went from recording music, recording film audio to like, oh, hey, I'm just going to start auditioning for, you know, animations and, you know, voiceover work and stuff like that. And I was in Austin at the time and spent about, you know, 5, 6, 7 years kind of auditioning, doing some short films, doing some pretty, you know, some of the larger films that Austin had to offer. I got my voiceover agent in Austin. And after doing it a few years, it kind of just became apparent that like there was kind of a ceiling in Texas as far as like if you want to make this a full-time thing. At that time, I wasn't aware of Dallas being more of a hub or Houston being more of a hub. You know, I was in Austin, and it was kind of a film area rather than a voiceover area. So around 2018, I picked up my whole family, moved out to LA, and I, you know, went full force into, you know, doing this full time. And you know, like I said, it was like 6 or 7 years of me preparing at that point. So it was a pretty easy transition for me. I had demo reels, I had contacts, I had the work ethic and everything. I was a little bit older. I think I was 33 when we moved out there. So, you know, I had a little bit of, you know, maturity and knowing how to talk to people. And so when I got to LA, you know, I hit the ground running and started booking with some of the studios out there. I worked on JoJo's pretty quickly after moving out there. I always laugh.
That's wild to like have that be like your first thing. Moving out there.
Yeah, but I always laugh because like Luca was in one episode and he, you know, he gets killed off.
Yeah,
it's still cool. It's still cool. But you know, when I go to cons, like I met you guys at a con, and you know, like when I go to cons, that's the thing that people are the most excited about is that I was Luca in JoJo's, and it's like, okay, you know. It's a big fan base. One episode, I wish.
Yes,
you know,
every character in JoJo's has at least someone that loves them. That's what I'll always say. I think
for sure.
That's how iconic every character. You know, Araki makes every character so iconic that even Leaky Eye Luca has a fan base.
So I mean, and then, you know, after 2018, it was just kind of keep going. I made good contacts. I met good casting directors. You know, like I said, I'm a little older. I know how to do good work, and I know how to, you know, be a good person, talk to people, and all that sort of thing. And that gets you a long way. You know, when you're making connections and you're networking, that gets you a long way. And so it's just, you know, every day plugging away at it, every day doing auditions, getting cast in a few things here and there, and just trying to get bigger and better every day.
Yo, that's dope, man.
That's awesome.
So wait, did you end up getting a degree in like Which is it, like an art? Are you
illustration?
Like an art? Oh wow! Okay,
Yeah.
see,
my degree is I've got a bachelor's of fine art and illustration. Oh, and so the final full circle thing of it all is that now I'm going to conventions and I'm drawing and painting my own own prints that I do, and it's like voice acting has gotten me to a point where I'm selling my artwork much more than I ever was when I was just an artist.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. I mean,
just want to take a second to just I have this right here. Just like
he's got the print that we got from you.
This is the print. Yeah. Look at that. That's I love it. I still need to frame it, but it's so good. So do you sell your art online, or are you only just kind of selling it in person for now?
Well, so I don't know if you guys have heard of Streamily. They're doing a lot of voiceover autograph kind of. They kind of started up when the pandemic was, everything was locked down, and so that's really the only online source that I sell things. And it's really so every once in a while they'll do like a JoJo Streamily event or like a Jujutsu Kaisen Streamily event, and we'll all get on and we'll all do like Instagram Live, signing and things like that. And so that's one way to do it, but really it's just a matter of like time for me. It's like I don't have a whole lot of time to invest in putting out artwork and doing the acting and raising kids, and it's just like so if I have a convention coming up, then I'll put a lot like the print that you just showed. I just finished watching Loki. The Medessa anime convention was coming up, and I was like, oh man, like the joke is right there, tiny rock in Loki's hand, so I made that before the show, just stuff like that.
That's so cool. That's a great, or I just think it's very interesting that you pivoted from, your own physical artwork and then into doing a lot of voiceover work and all of that. I think that's just such an interesting, I'm like, wow, you really were able to kind of make that work, and I just find that so awesome. So I think that's like a inspirational story, I hope, for people that are listening, that they're like, oh, maybe I could do something or try to do something. So I think that people
I taught art for a long time. I taught high school students art, and I try to do that as much as possible, show different avenues of if you can think creatively, you could go down almost any path in life. It's just about the creative mindset. It's not necessarily about being good at only one thing,
Dang, see that David and I, when we were in high school together, we took an AP studio art class together. Yeah. So you would have been the coolest teacher ever, Matt. That's
oh, absolutely, yeah. Probably would have stuck with it if I had.
Maybe we don't know. No, that's fantastic.
I had a ton of fun. Just that's why I got turned on to Naruto in the first place, is because my kids, my art students, were watching it, and they're like, "Oh, you gotta check this out." I was like, "Okay, I'll check it out."
There's one other that a lot of kids carry around. It's actually called Vampire Night. I know that here on the Vampire Night podcast, we do have to say that we love Vampire Night. We know that kids carry around Vampire Night. Whenever they're going to their art classes, I know for a fact on that one.
Oh, do they really? Kenny, is that the case? Okay, so Matt, we have to explain the joke. Yeah. Kenny here every week since we started this podcast. He always talks at least briefly about the anime Vampire Night. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It is.
I have not. This is the first.
It's like
really
a
terrible.
It's
just
like
terrible.
It kind of came out like during the hype of like Twilight and other like vampire romances. And it's about essentially like a young lady, and she like falls in love with a vampire guy at like a school. It's honestly, it's very campy, very, but it got massively popular amongst young women at the time. It was like a big shoujo series. And for some reason, when David and I first met in high school, we met because I saw him reading a manga. We were freshmen in high school.
Vampire Night?
Yeah, and he was reading. Yep,
the first manga I read in my life, Matt, was Vampire
Night. And I approached him.
This.
Yes, and I approached him. I was like, "Hey, man, why are you reading that?" I was like, because I was big into like Naruto and Bleach and like all this stuff at the time, and I was like, "Why are you reading Vampire Night?" He was like, "Jerry, it's good. It's good." And I was like,
It's like, it just gets me in the feels,
It just gets me, yeah. So, I love some good romance between humans and vampires. What's more, what's not?
What more could you ask?
Honestly,
what more could you ask for?
Yeah.
But so we sprinkle that into every episode, at least one mention of the show Vampire Night. We ask our commenters down below to tag the timestamp of when we mentioned Vampire Night this episode. So if you caught it, when did Kenny mention Vampire Night? Make sure you tag the comment down below.
At this point, we're just like obligated to say it.
Yeah, it's just
started off, and now we can't stop. Now, so.
I think it's funny every time.
It's somehow gotten funnier over the last, almost a year that we've been doing this. It's like somehow
funnier.
Yeah, it started funny, it got less funny, and then it got more funny at some point. That's
it
how
rides waves. It rides waves.
Yeah.
So here's what you need to do. You need to, because I'm sure you've brought it up with more people who had the same reaction as me. Is like, no, I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
You need to at some point have people send you in videos of their reaction after watching it, and then cut together a whole episode. Like a super cut of people just talking about how good or not good, Vampire Night is.
David, take notes. Matt's giving us great content ideas. No,
I got notes right here.
He's got the notepad.
Nice.
That's such a good idea. That's so funny. Yeah, that's our.
I think when we mentioned it on Corey's episode, he was like, "Why are you talking about that trash?" Like he knew what it was. He was like, "Why are we talking about this?"
Yeah. See, Corey's just trying to be cool. It was one of his favorites, and he's like, "Oh no, I never watched that. Why are you guys watching that trash?"
That sounds like Corey. Actually,
wouldn't even surprise me. Wouldn't even surprise me. Yeah, no, that's funny. No, okay, so I do want to tell you. So Matt, I don't know if you know this, but when we started this podcast, the very first show we ever talked about on this podcast was Tower of God. And I wanted to ask you about it because you were in it, so I don't know, like what was the experience like being in Tower of God? Because it's a pretty arguably like kind of a massive fan base for where as a manhwa series, it's one of the more popular of them, and it's got a pretty large fan base. So I don't know what was your experience being in the show and now in the time following that, and I don't know, like the fan base around it. Like, do you have any funny stories or interesting experiences with that?
I'm gonna say, wait. Have you read it? Have you read the webtoon before?
Oh, yeah. So again,
I want to see how much. Yeah.
I have not read ahead. So short answer to your question is no, I have not read ahead. But I love the art from the manhwa. Mm-hmm, like it's amazing, and so an interesting conversation that always comes up with fans because as I'm doing these conventions, I'm finding more fans who read the comic as opposed to watching the anime. I feel like, I don't know, I don't have numbers off the top of my head, but I feel like the fan base of the comic is much bigger than the fan base of the anime.
I'd argue you're correct. I think you're right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that comes up constantly is how unique and special and beautiful the comic is, and how the anime didn't maybe live up to their expectations as far as pacing and as far as artwork and things like that. So that's always an interesting conversation for me, because I have similar views. I don't want to say anything bad about it, but I have similar views about how beautiful that original comic was. But that being said, I mean, Rak, I think, is my favorite character I've ever played.
Easily the best character.
He's the best character in that whole show.
He saved the show. Yeah.
Let me tell you, I'm reading the webtoon, and let me tell you, he's amazing consistently every single time you see him every time you see him, he's awesome. And that's
I keep hearing that. I keep telling people I don't read ahead. It's interesting as an actor, because a lot of these animes, you do have source material that you can read ahead and figure out everything that's going on. And I do have friends in the business that do that. Mm-hmm. But for myself, and I know for several others that I've talked to, that takes away some of the spice of acting. Like if you're preparing, or if you're basing your performance based on what the Japanese actors have done, or even basing your performance on what is in the original source material, it kind of takes away that spice. And, I won't spoil the end of the first season, but for that twist at the end of the first season, it was a huge shock for the actress that plays Rachel. It was a huge shock for me, going in and recording that final episode where Rak shows some emotion for the first time, and he's wailing at the end, and everyone else is like reacting to, oh crap, he's actually upset about what just happened. That was a special moment, and it would have not been there if I had known, the twist at the end of it.
Right. No, I agree. That's
Makes
probably
a more
cool.
raw reaction.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. David and I have only watched the anime, so we've never read.
Yeah, we haven't read ahead either.
Mm-hmm, yeah, we only know what we saw in the anime. So it was one heck of a twist at the end. That's for sure. I remember thinking when I watched it, I was like, oh boy, I was like,
especially like let's be honest, it felt like the season asked so many questions and it ended on a huge question. I was like, my brain hurts. What's going on?
Yeah, that's why Kenny had to go read ahead. He was like,
I
gotta know.
I need the answers.
I need the answers. I could not stop.
He was not.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of want to, if nothing else, like I said, to collect the books with the artwork in them. I think he's such an amazing artist.
Oh,
yeah.
I wonder. I hope that show gets a second season. I don't know if there's already been an announcement or not, but I hope
I think they actually did already get it.
I hope it comes back. I mean, I think it might have some redemption. And Rock
the conversation that I have with fans a lot is there's so many of those shows out there that you say, oh, once you get past the first season, it really picks up,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like Tower of God's going to be one of those shows where they had a whole bunch of stuff they wanted to cram into that first season, so it feels a little bit rushed. But I feel like once the second season opens up, it's going to really, find its sweet spot.
Yeah, at the very least, I'm curious to see what happens with Rock. That's all that matters. I'm like, I'll have to come back for more. Just for, that's.
Let me tell you, good things. Good things are in the future. Okay.
So
Kenny knows that people keep telling me like he does some pretty cool stuff. I don't want to get spoiled, but like I'm excited to beat him.
That's fantastic. Well, is there any?
Did you guys when you guys came to my table? Did you see my rock spear that I made?
Yeah, I believe we did.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe we did.
Cool.
Come on, cool shit. That's number one.
It's cool. I mean, that's just so cool. I love that. Okay, so the next now to slightly segue from kind of a similar topic, but I really want to hear about this because, when you booked Panda, did you have any idea what you were getting yourself into? Like, I mean, like, I just can't like gauge, like, because even as a fan, when we were filming this podcast already when the season was going to start in Japan, and at that point, even going into it, Kenny had read all the manga. David and I hadn't yet, and we were excited about the show. We knew, Jujutsu Kaisen looks really cool. It's another cool shonen, and we were still kind of riding the Demon Slayer high that Demon Slayer reaches high highs. And I think a lot of us didn't know what to expect, but David and I were both super excited. The premise sounded super cool, but the speed at which this series went from 0 to 100, from nobody knew it to flying off shelves, people flipping the manga.
Worldwide.
I mean, the fact that the best selling millions and millions of copies circulated over a 6-month period. I mean, the series exploded in popularity over the course of its run. I just don't like. I just am curious. How, did you have any idea what you just jumped into? I don't know, or like how it's writing something big. That's for sure. Yeah.
I mean, like I couldn't be more pleased that is the situation. I was, to bring it back to Tower of God, I was kind of expecting that to be Tower of God. Right. I was kind of expecting because it's just I think it's such a quality show. So I was kind of expecting for Tower of God to kind of be that first big one for me. And it had it reached it was good. It had a good following and everything. But it's the same studio, so the same recording studio rolled into Jujutsu Kaisen afterwards. And maybe one of the best compliments of my career was like I didn't have to audition for Panda. They were just like, hey, you did great with Rock. We got another character for you.
That's
and
so dope.
So that was a really cool thing. I was so excited, and again, just seeing the level of artistic expression in Jujutsu Kaisen specifically. I like it. Not that it's apples to apples, but it's almost like Cowboy Bebop. It's got like its own its own style, its own like art style to it, which is really cool. And so just seeing that stuff. I mean, I love playing these characters, and I think Rock and Panda inhabit the same sort of archetype as far as like these are not lead characters. These are not characters that the audience is going to be super emotionally invested in. But both Rock and Panda are the character that's going to make like the sacrifice play. They're going to like if if Yuji needs something, Panda's going to be there and he's going to like take the bullet. And he did, I talked about this before, but he did it in with Nobara. Like he was fighting Mechamaru, and Nobara was going to get blasted, and he was like, no, I gotta step up, and I just love that. I think, I knew that was the kind of character that Panda was, and I loved it that we got to see that happen, that he took one for the team. And then, of course, it rolls into one of the most badass, episodes ever.
Yes.
My God. Him going gorilla mode and everything. But anyway, I mean, so long way to answer your question is, I love that character. I love how goofy he is. I think he is the closest to me in real life, of any character that I've ever played. He's just he's a nurturing kind of father figure in a way. He's goofy. Right. But like, if you get on the wrong side of him, he's gonna like stand up for his team and like really, kick some ass, and then that kind of
literally
like,
kicks some ass. Yeah, he's a badass.
Yeah, no, I love it. And then as soon as the fight's over, he goes back to being his goofy self. I love it. So I'm so excited. I hope that we are our biggest fans. We are our biggest collectors. I see all your pop toys and your Funko Pops in the background. Like. Like, where's the Panda Funko? Like as soon as that's there, I'm gonna have a whole wall of them.
Yeah, please.
I was able to get this bad boy at the last convention, and I love it. But
I'm telling you, what Fire Force just got announced. So they go to anime.
Fire Force Funko Pop just came out. They're about to do
Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm telling you.
Oh, I think that it's in the next year. The Funko Pops are going to come out. I mean, as a huge Funko collector, I think they're on their way. They're coming. I promise. I bet. I would almost bargain that the artists have already put someone behind the scenes has already gotten this going. So I'm about to say it's probably moving somewhere right now, and I think that it's just a matter of time. But that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I just don't even know. Like, I just can already tell that you guys are going to probably be doing a lot of big conventions in the future. Is all because it's just a lot of. You can't go anywhere on the internet in the anime communities right now without talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. People referring to it as the modern masterpiece, one of the best shonen of the era, one of the greats of the upcoming generation. And I think that it's next season and the movie that's coming out later this year, which that's wild because I've read the source material for said movie and I am excited for you to work more, Matt. That's all I'll say.
As per our discussion earlier, I have no information that you have or that you don't have.
Right.
We're the last people to know, but I know it's coming up, and I'm excited to work on it.
Yeah. We briefly talked to her on the podcast. They released just like a brief teaser, the Japanese studio did of the movie. So, that's pretty cool and exciting, and it's based off of the manga, which is called Volume 0, which was sort of like a prelude story to. It was the original one shot that. Kind of pushed to make Jujutsu Kaisen a series, but it does spoilers, I guess. But it for people who don't know, but it does prominently feature Panda. So I'm excited for whatever whatever that ends up looking like and how the movie turns out. I think it's gonna be really cool. But that's so cool, excited. And I think that just it's just so cool, and we're excited to be Jujutsu Kaisen. I mean, it's just the best. I mean, we just love it.
We love it. I'm walking to sure. I mean, you can't.
Yes.
It's kind of sickening how many Panda related items that I have bought over the last few months. Like, and not even like Jujutsu Kaisen merch. Right. It's just like we were going through IKEA the other day, and there was like $1 Panda over in the corner, so I picked that one up too. I'm just like all around me. We've got Panda stuff,
See, that's fantastic. And my God, that's awesome.
Is the ultimate goal just to have your entire background just Panda merch?
Pandas.
So I don't know if you saw my Instagram picture, but I'll move this over.
Oh, the Panda.
I've got this whole gallery wall of like artwork that fans have done for me. So I put it all up. My goal was just to put up a bunch of cool artwork, and then I was like, oh, these are all just pandas. someday I will get other artwork up on the wall, but at the moment it's all pandas.
See, that's awesome, man.
So I noticed the trend with your roles, Matt, is that you got a crocodile, you got a panda.
Yep.
What's going to be the next animal that you're
the next animal? What's the next animal?
Maybe a roll in
Do you want to be a
Beastars?
Yeah. How do we roll them into Beastars? Yeah.
You could be the lizard.
I often say that I would love to just corner the market on like big, gruff, animal characters. Of course, I can't tell you anything other than what I'm about to tell you, but I just did have a funny conversation with my agent. I did an audition for an animal character, and I was like, "Oh, this would be a great addition to the gang,"
He's putting together the whole kingdom. I'm not saying there's a lot of options. I mean, in the end, if the One Piece dub ever catches up to the current episodes, almost all of the current villains pirate crew is all animals. So there's a lot of
Maybe
options.
I'm about to say there's one big one that is, I don't know, a giant lizard, I would say, that might.
Yeah, that'd be a good. There's a lot of.
Kenny, no spoilers,
Yeah.
Kenny.
I'm about to say, I don't know if you know anything about One Piece, Matt. We're huge One Piece fans, so it's like
We like One Piece.
yes, it is.
I know One Piece is huge, and it's just one of those daunting things that I don't know if I have it in me to like start another million episode thing.
Yeah, that is like
literally,
that's like everyone's worst nightmare, like to start it, because like for us, we've been watching it and I feel like for a lot of One Piece fans I know, we've been watching it since we were like
middle school.
I was like a middle schooler when I started, and I've just kept up with it for 10, 15, for forever. And that's just been a part of my life. I've just, every week I watch One Piece, or, I save up a couple episodes. I watch it once every few months, I marathon it or binge it, but that's just been but I can understand. I have a lot of friends that, they missed out on the One Piece hype train, and the idea of looking at, I think episode like 986 was last week or something.
Insane.
So
that number scares a lot of people.
Yeah, they see that and they go, hard pass. But it is a phenomenal show, and I could certainly see.
No, I've heard that from more than one person, and I feel like inevitably I will watch it. It just hasn't happened yet.
Could certainly see your voice in there. That's all I'm saying. No.
Animal Kingdom Pirates.
Yeah, I must say the whole animal. But okay, David, any other questions on your mind, man?
Well, something I just wanted to call back to with the Panda and Mechamaru fight. So even though you were Leaky Eye Luca and you didn't have a stand, you did do Aura 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 in that fight. So was that like just like little? Was that like your decision, or was that just like a little fun thing like your director suggested, or like is there like a story behind that?
No. I mean, what comes out. It's like maybe I had it in the back of my mind. I don't recall, but like no, it was just like that recording session. We actually had to do, was it 2 or 3 4-hour recording sessions, because there was just so much fighting and yelling and like all that stuff, and I'm good at I'm good at doing fighting noise, like much it comes much easier to me to do hits and punches and expressions and things like that, as opposed to Panda's other mode, which is like, hey, let me explain to you something for 15 minutes straight here. So it was super fun for me, and it's just a long way of saying no. Whatever just came out was just me being in the moment and like going nuts.
That's still, I mean, that's awesome. And I guess kind of. Oh, you had something.
No, you go, David.
I was going to pivot to something else. So something kind of related to like fighting and like fighting noises. Yeah. You also voice Belial in Granblue Fantasy Versus, and there's a lot of fighting games in general. I feel like there's just a lot of like the majority of the sound effects are just and just like a lot of just like those types of noises. So what was like recording? And I mean, something that's different about that as well. I mean, that's a video game compared to what we've been talking about so far as anime.
Right.
So what was that like voicing, like working in the studio and like providing voices for a video game?
So super cool. I mean, I booked Rak and I booked Belial like within a couple weeks of each other, and I was riding a high. I was like, oh man, this is like, it's really popping off for me right now. And so I was super excited. Rak was one of my first, main cast anime characters, and then Belial, I've been working on Granblue Fantasy for about 2.5 years. It's just constantly coming out with new updates and new characters, and so every new character gets new interactions with Belial. It's really cool to be involved with something that evolves and grows, and you can keep playing that character and keep refining it. I mean, one of the things I'm so excited about, hopefully getting a chance to do a season 2 of Tower of God, is like I feel like I can give a lot more to Rak. Like I figured out who he is, and I can just perform him better now, and so I'm excited about that. But sorry, getting back to Granblue is I got that opportunity. I was in the studio, if not every other week. I was in there once a month for a good 2 years, and it was super fun. And as opposed to what you would think about a fighting game being like a lot of punches and kicks, Belial is just like this super horny character, and so he doesn't actually give a lot of efforts. Like he says like horny quips instead of like
that's incredible,
like punch noises. It's crazy.
You're telling me this is an anime character? Okay.
Yeah, this man's Hisoka over here.
No, he's, and hence my love of Jiraiya, right?
Yeah.
But like, he's like incredible to play because he's just like, he's just like on it in his own head, in his own world the whole time. Everyone else is worried about like, this big, battle that's happening, and he's just like trying to flirt with everyone the whole time. Yeah. Which I can relate to.
Yes, I was gonna say I've heard that.
Absolutely.
I've heard doing voices for fighting games is literally a lot of like sitting in the booth, like like a lot of hitting all the different.
And there is a lot of that. But one thing they told me when I first booked that character is like, this character doesn't he doesn't shout, like he doesn't he's not gonna like any of this performance is just like super. It's almost like he's like sliding in jokes, and it's like under his breath, That's he's just incredible. Super low and super horny. Like there's no other way to say it.
Super low and super horny.
He's a nasty man. Okay?
He's a nasty man. That's it. Belial's a nasty man. That's
and like the Granblue Fantasy fan base has been like the most welcoming and biggest fan base that I've ever been a part of. It's mostly in Japan. Like Granblue Fantasy is not really hit it so big in the US. This game was the first time that they had US voices for a lot of these characters, and English actors for a lot of these characters. But I know that I know it's getting bigger. It's getting a fan base, and it was unfortunately we had COVID this year. It was supposed to be the main game at Evo 2020. So it was going to be like a headlining fighting game. So we'll get there. I think it's going to grow. I think it's got a big base. But,
absolutely.
I mean,
all of us.
The Belial fans are hilarious.
Yes,
I'll just say that.
We just gotta hope that on the next patch, Belial's like broken or something. That would be.
They make him the best character in the game. We all have to make.
Everybody has to play Belial.
Seriously, he's like super OP. He's got like he's one of the only characters that has like undefeatable blocks and things like that. He's got unstoppable moves. David, and so I know he's been nerfed a few times, but I do know in the upcoming update that he's got some new stuff coming.
He's back on the mat. He's back on the mat. He's Belial. We want to play. That's been on my radar since it first came out in the US, and I
love Arc
David and Kenny and I we're actually we didn't tell you, but we're big fighting game fans. It's pretty much something we played for forever. Whether it's Marvel vs. Capcom, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Smash Brothers, all that. Like we've been playing fighting games since we were little, and I grew up on Tekken
and Dragon Ball and all those fighting games. Yeah.
So that's so we've been wanting to play. It's like literally been on our radar for a long time, and I don't think any of us have bought it yet. So we need to just buy it and have a game night, guys. That's our.
I mean, I think for you guys it'll be the perfect marriage of anime and fighting games. Like it's just perfect.
Yeah. It reminds me of obviously like Blaze Blue and Guilty Gear, which are also kind of in that same realm of like real deep anime style fighters. But
and you don't recognize a ton of voices. There's a ton of people that you know from animes in the game.
Oh, see, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah.
That is exciting. Okay, so
I also wouldn't be surprised if like Jujutsu Kaisen gets a fighting game like within the next year or two, because Demon Slayer's coming out with one later this year.
They are.
Don't get me so excited.
Don't get me so excited. Panda will be everyone's main. That's that. That'll be.
It'll be my main for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask, Matt. So, do you have any anime hot takes that you are allowed to discuss with us? So, what a hot take is maybe something about an anime or series that you think goes against the grain of what other fans might think about that. So maybe something that you don't like that is super popular, or maybe something that that you do like that maybe isn't as popular. So any anime, you think you have any anime hot takes? I'm just curious at this point. I'm like, is there any deep cuts that you think might be worth discussing?
Well, I mean, the short answer is no, but like long answer is like, you know, like My Hero doesn't do anything for me. For
no, that's
me,
whoa, man. Wait, yeah, what the
wait a second.
Short answer is no, but also
no. Let me go ahead and burn y'all out real quick, okay? No.
That's a great
fire.
idea.
What are you talking about?
Yes.
As we've discussed, like my passions lie in kind of short form,
right?
You know, emotional story arcs, you know, that can be consumed in a reasonable, you know, amount of time, and then hopefully more seasons, you know, that sort of thing. But you know, it's One Piece, My Hero, these big long running shows, like it's too much.
It's
for
a lot.
Me. Like I don't know.
That's fair.
I don't know.
That's fair.
I think that is damn, that I mean, and that is a hot take, because like I think that for a lot of us shonen kiddos, you know, there's a certain like desire for your show to just go on forever, but it's so true though that sometimes they just, Kenny likes to call it, what do you call it? It's
They unravel.
Yeah,
they unravel. They
over
spiral
time
out of
these
control.
shows just sort of spiral into nothingness. And
they won the Christmas Bowl.
How much of My Hero?
For me, there's always been a virtue in knowing when your story is going to end.
Right.
And you know, maybe that comes from me, you know, being a filmmaker or whatever, you know, that sort of thing. If your goal, it was interesting because I told you I was just watching the Naruto YouTube thing where it was like talking about the 107 things you didn't know about Naruto, and one of the things they touched on is that the creator didn't really have an end goal in mind for much of the series, because he was working so hard to meet a weekly deadline for you know, for the comic, and you know, thank goodness that it turned out okay. But you know, you get a whole lot of filler, and you get a whole lot of like, you know, twiddling your thumbs and that sort of thing because of that. And you know, when you guys watch Made in Abyss, I think you're going to see a clear difference. And you know, just to mention a few other ones, some of my absolute favorite shows are Trigun, you know, 26 episode show, and then it's over. You know, Gundam, G Gundam, you know, I think it was more like 50 episodes, but it was over. You know, it had a story, and then it was over. And if you, I challenge you to think back on things that really resonate with you, and it's going to be something more like that, where it's like, oh, I really remember that thing. I want to go back and revisit it because it was so cool, and I can go back and revisit it. I'm never going to go back and watch every episode of Dragon Ball Z. Right. You know, it's just like, even though I love that show, it's not going to happen. But like with G Gundam, I do watch it all the time, and with you know, Made in Abyss, I watch it all the time. That's cool. So I don't know. Not much of a hot take, but like, know where your story's going to end. You know, don't you know.
This is solid. See, what's interesting, because I think that one of the biggest problems that's prevailing in a lot of the shonen manga and anime over the last probably 20, 25 years, they pretty much have all been derided for having like terrible endings. These ones that have gone on, and some of them have just, you know, they've just given up. It's like, instead of even coming to a conclusion, they just have ended up on hiatus, or they've just decided never to come back. You know, Hunter x Hunter, Black Lagoon. There's like all these series that have just ended up on sort of this indefinite hiatus, and it's like mainly because the authors do exactly what you said. What happened to Kishimoto is that they just sort of they're grinding every week to put out a new chapter
Yeah.
that they don't know where they're going, and eventually they hit a wall and they're like, I've kind of got to finish this out. Yeah. And a couple series that have even been recently ended that have gotten a lot of hatred from the community are things like The Promised Neverland. You know, it was a series that was riding a massive wave of popularity, and then all of a sudden its ending fell short. Demon Slayer, the manga, has also had a lot of critique towards its ending as well, and I think that anime fans, those of us that are anime only, like I'm an anime only. I haven't read the Demon Slayer manga, but I'm worried. I'm worried that I'm going to invest all this time and years in the next seasons of Demon Slayer, and the ending's just going to fall short. Attack on Titan's the same way. It kind of had an ending that people really critiqued really hard. So I think it's this is a super hot take that anime fans need to hear, Matt. So I think you actually they need to hear that.
Well, it's a good hot take.
I may cut myself off from ever booking a My Hero Academia role, but no, I mean, and it goes back to just good storytelling. I'm thinking about when you're talking about that. I was thinking about one of my my other arm of tattoos is all based on Stephen King books, and one of my absolute favorite series of books is called The Dark Tower, and it spanned. I mean, I think he started it in like 1975, and then he finished it in like 2010. It spanned like a bunch of decades of his career, and it was one of those things where you were kind of dreading what the ending was going to be like.
Right.
And Stephen King can do a really cool thing where he kind of breaks the fourth wall sometimes, but he kind of had this moment in the last book where it was like, listen, you guys have had a great time on this ride, and it's not really about the ending that's going to happen. So if you want to hear what my ending is, then continue reading here. But if you want to just enjoy what you've enjoyed, then here's a good stopping point. And I thought that was a really cool thing. Like, here's a definitive ending that I've been working towards, but if that's not going to live up to your expectations, then maybe here's a good stopping point, because then you can just imagine what happens after this.
Whoa.
So there's some cool options,
Were you disappointed in the movie with Idris Elba, The Dark Tower? Isn't that...
I was so excited. I love Idris Elba. I was so excited that it was getting a movie. I was so excited about it.
McConaughey was in it too, right? Like Wasn't it Elba and McConaughey?
Yeah, McConaughey. Yeah. And again, just knowing how the sausage is made with all of these things, that just kind of reeked of, okay, we don't have any money. We know this is probably not going to go past the first movie, so we're going to make it feel like it's the ending, even though it might not be the ending, because we hope we get money down the line. That kind of thing. I thought Idris Elba was a really good choice for Roland, the gunslinger. He's great.
I mean, he's
a great actor,
and he knocks it out every time.
But that was rough.
So as a film guy, Matt, what do you have a favorite? You might not even have. I know my buddy who's a film guy. He doesn't have like a favorite movie, because that's like a weird thing. He's like, I don't have a weird favorite movie.
I mean,
for like a film buff, it's like kind of hard to answer. But is there a movie
what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite movie?
One you admire a lot, or one that maybe inspired you a lot as a filmmaker or someone who's done film?
So interesting. There's different answers to those two questions. What inspired me, and then what my favorite is. Similar to where I was talking about with anime. But listen, I'm gonna give you guys some homework. You guys watch Made in Abyss, and then watch Let the Right One In, the Swedish vampire movie.
I've actually heard of it. That's weird. I actually know
vampire?
of that one.
Yeah. I actually wish I hadn't told you it was a vampire movie, because that's part of.
This is the best. Actually, this is the best suggestion. Let the right one in. All you need to say was vampires, and we're have to.
So the original, it's a Swedish movie, and it's called Let the Right One In. And if you watch those two of my favorite things, you're going to be like, oh, I understand why these two are his favorite things. They have very similar themes and very similar ways of telling story and who the main characters are and things like that. So that's definitely, like, if I had to choose a favorite movie, that's my favorite movie.
Was there like a US remake of that, or is that what I'm
thinking? There was a US remake called Let Me In that I did not watch, because again, the original was one of my favorites, and I figured why put myself through anything.
Right.
That's fair.
They definitely Americanized it. So there's the Scandinavian one is a very slow burn, very foreign film feeling, and beautifully shot and everything. And again, I told you I wish I hadn't said it was a vampire movie, because it's almost so subtle that it's a surprise when it becomes a vampire movie.
Oh, okay.
Whereas I think that the American one really kind of leaned into blood and vampire stuff.
Be vampire now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So wait, but you said you might have one that would be like a different movie if you were picking one that like inspired you as a filmmaker, or like is like your biggest inspiration.
I don't know. Yeah, the easy answer was the one that I gave you.
Okay.
I'd have to think back.
I won't make you
number
go
of years, but I grew like stuff that really caught my eye has always been, Quentin Tarantino stuff.
Oh wow, okay.
I really like when a director has a vision, an artistic vision, and Quentin Tarantino, Ridley Scott is kind of similar to me, Gladiator and the Alien movies, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's really, it's interesting because most of my taste comes from visual storytelling, and I often have a lot of conflicting opinions, with other friends that are film buffs, because I think a lot of people don't think about visual storytelling as much as, or they don't hold it in such high regard as they do with I don't know, I don't even know, writing or anything.
Right.
For in the sense that, like, here's another hot take that I tell everyone, but like, I love Zack Snyder movies. I love his visual language. I love how beautiful everything looks. I love the action, all that stuff. And I mean, they're some of my favorite movies, and I just cannot. It's one of those things that my brain cannot connect with other people who hate them. Like I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why this movie is so different for you than this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
If we're talking about, like, I don't know, Man of Steel up against another superhero movie, as like, they're the same. They're inhabiting the same world, and I like this one because it's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like me, for real.
I enjoyed Army of the Dead. I thought Army of the Dead.
We just watched Snyder's Netflix movie.
Yet.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it yet. I'd love to though.
Yeah, if you have a chance, it's a visual. It is a visual stunner, Matt. I think
there's already a sequel announced.
Yeah, and I think a spin-off show too. I think Snyder's going full in on this one, so that's gonna be fun. But
nice.
But yeah, it's crazy that you brought up Snyder, because like so I first saw Watchmen in theaters when I was I guess I would have been an 8th grader or something like that when it came out, and that was like one of the first. Like, and it's got some mature themes, so I probably shouldn't have seen it in theaters when I was in 8th grade. But I remember when I saw it, that it was the first time where I ever felt like, as a kid, like comic books were coming to life, and that was like, just visually, it was like this astounding experience for me. And ever since then, I've tried to communicate to people like why I love Zack Snyder as a filmmaker, because the way he puts scenes together, especially with superhero films, there's just something so page flippy to me. Like, there's something so kinetic about the experience for watching, whether it be that or something like Man of Steel or something like the cut of Justice League you just put out. There's something very kinetic about Snyder as a filmmaker, and I adore him as a person. I don't know. I think he's a great guy too. I have high opinion of Zack Snyder, so it's crazy that you brought him up, because I was like, oh my god,
Watchmen. Watchmen easily top 10, maybe even top 5 of my favorite movies.
Yes.
And I feel the same way. I mean, something that I love about him that I think probably gets him the most hate even is that he expects the audience to have a little bit of understanding when they're coming into it.
Right.
A lot of people with Batman versus Superman and with Justice League and things like that, a lot of people hate that that he's not spoon feeding the context of the movie to them.
Right.
But I mean, I loved Batman v Superman because I saw its origins in The Dark Knight Returns.
Right.
It's like, I know that story. I know that's what he's telling, and I know he's changing it a little bit. But like, I know the backstory. I know that Robin has been killed by Joker. I know all of these things, and I get why that I get why, to a general movie-going audience that's a little unpalatable because he's not telling you everything.
Right.
He's kind of showing it to you a
Right.
little bit more. I don't know. I have.
I love this. This is the discussion. So we're
fair.
off anime now. We're talking about movies. No,
We're talking comics.
I'm
and
like,
movies.
this is all I want. No, this is all I want. Are you a big comic guy at all, Matt? Have you read many comics or read into comics and stuff too?
Yeah. I mean, Batman is a huge influence in everything that I do. Kevin Conroy is probably the first voice actor that I knew by name.
Right.
I'd probably say.
God, I want to meet him. That's one of my goals. I haven't got to meet Kevin at a con or anything yet. I want to meet him. He does a lot of cons here in Dallas, so that's like that's one of my goals is to go meet him and get one of my Funko Pops signed by him because that's the plan.
I grew up collecting X-Men comics, and I mean, even until just recently, I had a whole collection of X-Men comics. When you're moving around a lot and you're making space for kids, sometimes those things go by the wayside. But it all when I went to art school, when I first went to art school, my kind of dream was to go into comic book illustration.
Wow.
Sick.
So we can expect a Matthew David Rudd comic book to come out in the next. It's still there. Like you're gonna make it happen, right?
Yeah, meets Panda.
What I found out is that's a whole lot of work, and doing voices on a microphone is much less work than drawing a million pictures.
Right.
Yes.
That's fair.
That's wild. But that's really cool though. I think that's just awesome to hear. I mean, yeah. So, okay, I have something that I'm going to suggest to you then, Matt, because I was just thinking about how you love visual storytelling. You're into comics, so it's a manga series, and there's not a like an anime adaptation. Like it's never been adapted into an anime. But I think this would be right up your alley. Okay, it is a series called Happiness by Shuzo Oshimi. Okay, and it is. I think that it's right up your alley because I'd argue it's kind of in the same realm as the Let the Right One In. He's a massive visual storyteller. He doesn't use a lot of words to tell his in his manga series. It's it's about the pictures. And that kind of tells the story. And it's in that same realm and zone. And I think that you would really enjoy it. He kind of uses a lot of Van Gogh level influence, like legitimately Van Gogh type of influence in his artwork. And it's a series that I recently read all of. It's 10 volumes, and it's all published in English if you wanted to buy them physically. Or you can also find it online. You can purchase it digitally or read it online. But after listening, I was like, man, I think that I got to at least tell you, Happiness. You should give it a shot if you have the time and want to sit down and read a manga series or something. That's one that I think, and I don't know if it'll ever get an anime adaptation, honestly. I think it's a little too art house, and I don't think that any studio would really try to pick that up or turn it into an anime, but maybe one day, who knows? But it's definitely one. It came out, I want to say it ended about 5 or 6 years ago, something like that, just a couple years back, but it ran for a couple years as well. But yeah, I was just thinking, I was like, yeah, he'll probably like this.
And then just like, hey, Matt, like my favorite manga, you got to
No, it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite. It's just one that I thought.
This was my favorite. I just think maybe you should just give it a little.
Vampire Night.
It's Vampire Night.
Actually, it's Vampire Night. You're gonna open up Happiness page 1. It's just gonna be Vampire Night.
It's like Vampire Night.
You're gonna be totally disappointed. No. But that's great. Okay, I have to. So, I was just thinking about this. Did you know what JoJo's was before you did Leaky Eye Luca?
Yeah. No, I actually didn't. I walked into the booth and the director Tony Oliver, he was like, "All right, Matt, have you ever worked on or have you ever heard of JoJo's before?" And I said, "You know what? Honestly, I have not." And he goes, "Okay, well, welcome to the cult of JoJo." Yeah. That's how he introduced it. Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's so funny.
It's really a cult. It's like once you're in, you're in. But it's not a joke.
Yeah.
So
once you're in, you're in. Have you been able to sit down and watch it all the way through yet, or have you made an attempt at it?
Okay, you're getting all these hot takes out of me. Again, art style is king for me, and for me, JoJo's art style just doesn't do it for me. And so and I know that's crazy because it's got a very specific Yeah,
he's leaving. David's leaving the room. No,
I'll come back.
I've heard that before. You're not the only person I've actually heard that from, so I feel that.
Yeah.
It's so gar, bro. That's
it's
the
very
issue.
it's a very distinct sort of almost like over the top. Their bodies and builds are very something. Yeah.
I'm not saying anything bad about it. I know that for a certain audience, it is a very good art style.
Yeah.
For me, it's just not. It just doesn't work for me.
The artist in you comes out all of a sudden. That's what it is. Yeah.
I don't know. Man, you guys are getting me to say all these bad things.
No,
She's gonna love you.
We feel like this humanizes you. That's to me. It's like to me, it's like
he's like JoJo's. Come on.
If you loved everything, it would be like that'd be boring.
You're like this isn't real. This isn't real.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, one of those things that does it's hard to break that barrier when you're going to conventions and stuff like that. But like we're all actors, and so the job is acting. And it's super fun to be in all of these things, and of course it's super fun to be in something that has a fan base like JoJo. Right. But at the end of the day, I'm portraying the character, and then I move on to another job. And that's the cycle. I loved playing Luca. I think that he's the perfect JoJo character for me.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a stand. He's in it for an episode, and he's this moody guy with a shovel. I love it.
Perfect.
And it was a nice little dip my toe in and then get out.
Got a little flavor, a little taste.
I do happen to be someone who likes anime, but not every single one of them is for me.
Yeah. That's
people have likes,
I feel like
people have dislikes.
We unfortunately shit on a lot of people's favorite shows on this podcast, and I got roasted so hard that I feel like I threw a fit.
Changed his mind. He changed his mind.
I got roasted so hard.
He got roasted so hard that he changed his mind. He's like, okay, Black Clover's good.
Have you heard of Black Clover? The anime series.
Yeah.
It's an anime series. It's a newer shonen series. It just didn't grip me when it came out. I just didn't get pulled in. And one time on the podcast, I said that. I said it just didn't really pull me in. I feel like it kind of missed its mark. Not really for me. And the Black Clover fans just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, like Black Clover is bad, and you shouldn't like it.
I was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, I didn't mean to I was like, geez. I was like, just because I didn't like it doesn't mean you can't. And that's I had to clarify later. I was like,
and he came back on. I was like, okay, Black Clover is good, guys. I'm sorry I said anything bad about it.
He's reading the statement. I apologize for what I said before. Black Clover is the best anime.
That's exactly what happened.
I did sit down, and after that I did give it another shot. I switched from the anime over to the manga though, so I could kind of pace it a little bit faster myself. And I did enjoy the manga a little bit better, but I still didn't read. It's like over 300 chapters already, so I didn't get through all of it. I read like maybe 50 or 60, something like that. But I definitely enjoyed it more.
What the beautiful thing about like right now in our world is like when I was growing up, like I said, it was like Toonami had Dragon Ball Z, it had Rurouni Kenshin,
right,
and it had like Sailor Moon.
Yes,
like those were your options. So like if you didn't like those shows, then you didn't like anime.
Yeah,
and like now we live in a world where like I watch a ton of anime. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I watch a ton of anime, and I also don't watch a ton of anime. And I get to pick and choose what I want to watch. It's a pretty cool thing that this is such an explosive, genre or medium for genres to come out of. We have tennis animes now.
Yes, we do. Kenny and I we just watched
anime.
Yeah,
actually.
for this season, we literally just watched one about what was it? Water polo? Is
water
that what it
polo.
was, boys? Yeah.
Just watch. Remade is amazing, okay?
It's
my favorite show of the season, okay? I love water polo now, and I know everything about it.
There's a water polo anime that just came out, Matt, and it's Kenny's supposedly loving it. So
hey, and there's a soon-to-be soccer anime, Blue Lock, officially announced next July.
Yeah, it's cool soccer anime coming out. I'm so excited. Well, dang! I'm happy we brought out the hot takes. That's all that I want. I
had to bring up the hot takes.
We got those out of the way.
We had to bring up some hot takes. Okay, so Matt, I asked Corey the same question. He was the first, kind of voice actor that we had on the podcast. But I want to ask you as well. If you had to give some very honest advice to people who are anime fans that want to be anime voice actors. And I'm talking like, because I think that in reality, like some people, it's really tough for them to like grasp that. You know, I think that every anime fan seems to think that they are cut out to be an anime voice actor. And I think that, I don't know. I've always been curious if you were to give some honest or some tough advice, or maybe even just some really real advice, or even some good, you know, whatever you see, what would you give to some anime fans that might be listening that maybe have been interested or ever thought about doing voice work?
Yeah, well, I mean, we touched on it a second ago, and it's really the only advice is like the people that are making these shows, we are actors. You know, we've been to classes, we've studied, we've made films, you know, that sort of thing. And so much of the time when you meet fans or when you interact with them online or anything like that, they're saying that sort of thing. Like, I can do this voice. Like, how do I get into, you know, whatever? I can sound just like Goku, or I can sound just like whoever. How do I get started? And the only answer is take classes, you know, become an actor. And if you want to specifically be a voice actor, then you take specifically voice acting classes. It's the only way to get your foot in the door, because, and it's not, you know, I went to, like I said, I went to LA after having been a voice actor and an actor for a number of years. So I started taking classes, not because I needed to, but because I needed to meet the people who were in LA. I needed to meet the casting directors in LA. I needed to, you know, there's no other way to do it. You can't just tweet at them and hope that they're going to, you know, pick you out of 100,000 people that tweet at them every day, you know? So you take the classes, you impress the right people, you learn from the right people, and then the path starts unfolding. It's like, you know, you impressed me in this class. I know this casting director who's looking for someone just like you. Here's their contact information, you know, that sort of thing. And so many times right off the bat, just hearing that turns so many people away. They don't, like you said, they don't expect that this is a job. They expect that we're a bunch of fans that got lucky and we you know, we get to, which is you know, on the other side of the coin, it's 100% true. Like, I'm a huge anime fan. I'm a huge video game fan. You know, and I'm so lucky to be doing this. Like, it's the best job in the world. But it took me, you know, when I'm talking to friends and I'm kind of being, you know, passive aggressive about it or whatever, you know, so I was thinking about getting into voice acting. How do I do it? And I'll say something like, okay, well, you try for 10 years and then you get your first, you know, you get your first job.
You get a background.
You know, that's really, yeah, exactly. And I, you know, I don't say that if I'm trying to be constructive. If I'm just goofing around with friends, I'll say something like that. But it's kind of true. You got to put in your work. You know, you're not gonna. It's like every other job in the world. You're not going to be a teacher, or you're not going to be a construction worker, or, you know, anything without the knowledge of how to do that. So
you have to put the work in for sure.
Yeah. I mean, every single person, you know, any class you take, or any person that you ask is going to tell you it's not about making funny voices. It's about being a character. You know, you have to be able to. It's not that you can do their. It's not that you can say Krillin, you know, or whatever. It's like, no, I can say that just like Goku. Okay, but can you act like Goku for 500 episodes? You know, and not break character. That sort of thing. And it takes practice. You know, like I was talking about Rak earlier. After a whole season of doing every single episode of Rak, I feel like now I can do him. Now I know who he is, and I can do him justice in season 2. I listen back to the first season, and there are moments of like good stuff that I hear popping out, but I'm sitting there listening and I'm critiquing myself and I'm learning, so that next time that job comes up, because you know, that job, it is a job. When that comes up, I can perform that job even better. You know,
exactly.
That's the business, right? I just feel like, Matt, that's like such a. I think that's the sort of things people really need to hear, and like, man, that's just real. It's inspirational, honestly. To me, I mean, just hearing. I mean, you worked your ass off. You told us earlier the amount of years and time and effort you put into both your art. I mean, you as an artist, as a human, and I think that that is like just super key. And I mean, just hearing the fruits of that come to fruition, and then just to me, that's what people. That's just that's the advice that sometimes people don't get, and I think that they need to hear that sort of stuff. So I hope I hope someone out there listening is like, damn, like maybe I do need to actually go take an acting class.
Yeah,
it's like you know, if you want to be a rock star, learn to play guitar. You know, it's that sort of thing. If you want to be if you want to be a voice actor, learn to use your voice. You know, you take the classes, learn. You know, anyway.
No, that's rock and roll. Yeah, I like I said, that is awesome. Okay, David, can you guys have any more questions for Matt or any other topics you want to hit on with him?
I think I have one last question. So the last question I wanted to end with is, this is kind of like the part where, you know, say what you're able to say, but are there any like well first off, and I know you've already said you don't have like a lot of time, but in your free time, are there ever moments when you will watch like subtitled anime?
Oh yeah,
like Japanese.
Oh, yeah. Oh man, you're getting one final hot take. Yeah, I mean, I that's all I watch.
Okay,
if I'm in a show, or if I have friends that are in shows, I like to watch them to hear. You know, it's what I was saying before. It's more of an educational thing for me. It's like I hear my performance, I hear my friend's performance, I learn from it. Watching Jujutsu Kaisen and hearing Anne do Nobara, she's amazing, and I listen. Absolutely. I listen to every scene that she does, and same with Keiji. You know, like I listen to every scene that they do, and I learn from them so that I can, you know, hopefully become a better actor and put a better performance on next time I'm recording. But really, if I'm watching an anime, I watch it in Japanese, and that kind of comes from, again, being a little bit older of a fan. Like they weren't dubbed so well back in my day. So and you know, with Dragon Ball Z, like again, that was my first like feverish fandom of an anime, and they were coming out like 10 episodes at a time on Toonami for like 10 years. And so I was like, screw this, and I imported the DVDs from Japan, and I just binged the whole show. And so that was kind of my first experience with subtitled anime. Is like, oh, this is so much better. I can just watch the whole thing whenever I want.
Yeah.
It's some. I mean, it's you guys know it's a cultural thing. I like watching it in its original language. I like the feel of the Japanese culture and everything. And I totally get why you wouldn't watch it that way. I totally, you know, I have a 7-year-old son who can't read subtitles right now, so we watch dubs. Or if I'm putting on a show and I think I might fall asleep, or you know, I don't want to put in the brain power to read the subtitles, I'll put on the dub. Yeah, you know, there are reasons to watch it. There are reasons to watch it for sure, and also not to mention that, you know, dubbing has gotten so much better over the years, like, you know, on par with the performances of the Japanese performances. But yeah, I mean, I just in general, I prefer watching the subtitles, and it's convenient, it's speed. I can watch more episodes faster, you know, all that stuff. And it's the culture. I enjoy feeling a part of the Japanese culture, you know?
Yeah, I'd say most of the time we watch subs mostly.
Yeah, I think the three of us prefer.
We'll occasionally watch a dub, especially just to check out. If there's someone I really like doing a performance in a show, I want to see what they did, or you know, I always like to see that for the dub. But I mean, also generally, we're trying to watch the newest stuff as it comes out, right as it comes out. So like, we're, you know, usually, although we do live in an era now where there are simul dubs that are that blows my mind, because you know, back in the day, I can't even imagine growing up that we would get dubbed anime that fast after it comes out in Japan. Like that's crazy to me. So, have you been a part of any simul dubs, Matt? I was about to say, have you gotten to work on any that are like
I mean, all the Crunchyroll stuff that I've been working on is within a week or two of the original release. So I mean,
I could remember.
I think
Tower of God was that way.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I couldn't remember if it was.
It's always like a week or two behind, but so Tower of God, Jujutsu Kaisen, To Your Eternity, you know, all those Crunchyroll, and what was it? Welcome to the Demon School.
Iruma-kun.
That was simul dub as well.
That's cool. Yeah, so. I forgot JJK the dub was coming out so quick after the sub when it was coming out. I think we were just so caught up in it. I literally every Friday at like it was like Fridays at like noon or something. I would like take my lunch break, and like immediately, I'd immediately watch the new episode sub like the second it come out. Like I could not wait for JJK, but like, I forgot that was being a part of that as well. But it's great. It's just great. Simuldubs are like such a weird thing to think about.
Sure.
Yeah, it feels like the future.
And it's great to have the opportunity, like I said, to like switch back and forth. Like maybe today I don't feel like reading the subs, so I want to watch the dub, and like I have the opportunity to do whatever works.
Yes.
Yeah. So I asked that question originally because I wanted to see if, from what you've like been able to scope out, if there's any roles or characters that you see that are kind of like on your wish list.
Right. Is there a character, maybe something you haven't auditioned for at all or like have no connection to? Is there a character you'd love to play?
We already know Jiraiya, so there's Jiraiya.
When they redo Naruto for some reason and then they recast all the characters, no. No, you know what? As dodgy as this answer might seem, it's like I'm so happy to do anything. Right. It's just it's so fun to get a booking and to be in any show, and then let alone to find out that it's a show like Tower of God or like Jujutsu Kaisen, like a real badass show. No, I mean I audition for hundreds of roles a month. It's like that's part of the work, and like every single one of them I would love to get, and it's kind of the mindset you have to be in as an actor and specifically a voice actor, because there are so many auditions. You just have to kind of let it go into the ether. You have to do it and forget about it, and just hope that something comes, because every single one of these is my agents know me. They're sending me characters that I fit. They're sending me big, gruff, badass dudes that are that I would love to play. And so if I got hung up on what I wanted to do and held on to that, like it would be crippling, just like,
exactly,
have all this anxiety. But so yes, there are plenty, and you guys have already talked about some shows that I've done auditions for that I'm still waiting on hearing that that I can't say anything about, but yes, I would. I have a ton that I would love to do, and I have a ton coming up that you guys will be excited about.
Well, I'm gonna put it in the ether. Then you can't say it, but if I were to cast you as anyone in One Piece, I would love to hear you play a character named Queen in One Piece. I think that would be such a cool character for you to play. He is much later on in the series. He's pretty far. The dub is only at like I think it's just in Dressrosa right now for the dub, but he's 2 arcs ahead of that, but. The character, to me, in my mind, like I can just immediately hear like you playing that character. So obviously you can't, but if you ever got the chance to audition for Queen, that would be like, so. And he turns into a dinosaur. Is all, So
nice.
he's
perfect.
I was going to say. So he's got a dinosaur
be an animal in some
transformation. So, but I think he's such a badass character. But I was just thinking about it the other day. I was like, dang, I bet he could play Queen. I bet that would be such a good role for him. But it was on top of my head. But
Funimation, you heard it here first.
I was like, hey, Funimation, I don't know if you guys are listening. If you guys are listening, no, but that would be really cool. Okay, cool, guys. Well, that's Matt, I think that's just about all we got. So I'll leave it on this. I want to ask you one last thing. If there was something you wanted to tell, is there anything out there that you just would love to tell maybe your fans, people who stumble upon this podcast, maybe listen to it to the end? Is there anything you would want to say to the people out there, like one last thing that you would share with the world? I think I asked Corey the same thing, but I don't know. Is there anything that
what did Corey say?
I feel like he just said, that he's happy to be doing what he's doing. It was something simple, but I don't know. Is there anything you would share, or that you just we didn't ask you a question about it already, and you wanted to just put out in the ether?
No, I mean, this is such a fun ride, and we talked about it on a few of these points, but like I love doing this, and I love interacting with the fans, meeting you guys at conventions, and just all that stuff is so fun for me. Thank you is what that's what I want to say to everyone. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for watching my shows, and I have not crossed my fingers. I have had no negative fan interactions at this point, and just all the fan bases for the shows that I'm in and the games that I'm in are just so positive. It's been such an uplifting experience for me. So thank you.
Oh, see, that's exactly what I was. That was perfect. See,
that's
rock and roll.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Matt. We cannot thank you enough for coming on and chatting with us. You know, as anime fans and people who are literally talk about anime on the internet for an hour or two every week. We are just grateful to get to chat with people who get to be a part of the production side, to get to learn more. I think that it's just such an insightful experience, and every time we get to sit down with someone, it's literally just like, it's a burst of energy and enthusiasm from us because we love to talk about this stuff and love to be engaged with the people that are making it and understanding it. And also just, like I said, I think sometimes it's this dose of humanization. Like, my friends, they can't put it together that like behind every voice actor, there's someone that's usually a very cool person putting together these works and working very hard to make these productions a thing. So we're grateful for you, grateful for your work and continual work and hopeful continual success in voice acting and in all of that you do, including artwork and all. I mean, you're just so involved and engaged in this. So we're just very, very grateful. And on that note, I want to just say thank you again. Boys, you got anything else you want to say before we close this out? They're just
no.
Awesome. Well,
you're the verbose.
I know. I'm the close.
You always do this. Every episode. Anything else? You literally minutes before ending.
You always say something poetic, so well versed, and then you're like,
the next line should like say things.
Into not thinking you need to say anything, and then he asks you a question.
I'm always
exactly. It's like, anything else, guys?
I always ask. I just ask because I never know. You never know. But awesome. So for all of you listeners at home, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Uncensored Anime Podcast. We're so grateful for all of the uptick. We've gained almost 100 subscribers in the last 30 days, which has been kind of an uptick. We didn't expect to kind of the growth that we experienced over the last 30 days. So we're so grateful to all of our new subscribers, people who are checking us out. Hope you enjoy this episode. You've enjoyed this episode with Matt. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, do all of that here on the YouTube channel because that helps us to grow here on YouTube. But then also make sure that if you liked it here, jump on over to Spotify, jump on over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review, leave us a follow over on Spotify because it also helps our podcast to get suggested more on those platforms as well. So on that note, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening. This has been the Uncensored Anime Podcast, and we're saying peace.